All right, it's another morning. Last night I came out here and I figured some things out. So let me show you what I got. So I figured out how wide the rear is and how basically I want the tire centered in the frame, in the bike. And the sprocket here is 4.5 inches from the center. So then that got me to marking the center of this plate. Okay, so I marked a center line on here. It's hard to see because I threw some paint in here trying to mark these holes, but so then I measured across 4.5 inches, and that put me right here for the driver, which is pretty much right at the edge of the motor plate. So I lined all that up. I measured how far over the drain plug was from the center line, and I marked that, and then I did the same thing on the front. So because the front has a drain plug as well. So I measured, same thing, not exactly where it needs to be, but I measured over, made sure the drain plug, so this thing is totally straight on here. And the hard part about this is when you get in here, there's almost no way to mark your holes. So, accurately anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the motor back off, and I'm going to make a template of the bottom of the motor, and then I'm going to use that on here. I've got it scribed out, and we'll mark the holes for the motor, and we'll get that drilled. And then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so somehow I actually managed to drill that perfect the first time. So I think I'm actually going to take these bolts and I'm going to flip them up and stick them up from the bottom. It's easier to get them in there and started, and it's, it doesn't leave something hanging down that can get hung up when you're going over something on the bike. So yeah, that thing's bolted to there. So now I'm going to show you the next thing that I came up with. So we did one swing arm already, and we used Heim joints. It was just kind of like last minute. We didn't know what we were going to do. So I've been pondering this for quite some time. And this is what I came up with. This is a piece of tube that I had laying around already. These are 5/8 bearings that fit perfectly inside this tube. And then, so this is going to be the swing arm. This is the pivot for the swing arm. So the swing arm will be built off of here using 1-inch tube. And then now, what I have to do now is I need to make some brackets or some tabs, something to get this thing mounted up here, because it needs to go right about here. So, yeah, so I'll have 2 tabs that come off of here. And then I'll have supporting pieces of metal, of course, as well. And basically, we're going to get this. I need to draw a center line on this, make sure it lines up with the center line there, make sure it lines up with the output shaft on the engine, or the output shaft on the torque converter, so that they have a very similar pivoting point, so we don't have chain issues. But yeah, so that's next. I need to make some templates, transfer that to metal, and get this thing mounted on here. One step closer here. I made this template, then I modified it to look like this template, and that came out with these guys. So this one goes here, this one goes here. We got our bolt is going to go through here, and then our washer is going to go here, then our bearings and centerpiece there, another washer there, and then voila, we have a swing arm mount. Basically like that. That's gonna be the swing arm mount, just like that. So I'll have to make sure that it's 100% lined up. Have to make sure that it's 100% level. And then, yeah, that will be it right there. Good morning, everybody. It is the next day, and we are continuing on this mini bike build. And is now turning into mainly just a swing arm build at the moment. But here's where I ended up yesterday. It's pretty much where it needs to be right now. I need to get this, make sure that this is on a level part of the table, make sure everything is square, level, plumb, everything that means, you know, straight and on there correctly. And then I'm going to tack it on, you know, pull the engine off, and we'll weld it up, we'll get some gusseting in here and make this whole thing permanent. And then we'll start on the actual swing arm. Okay, here's where we're at. We have got our swing arm mount right here. I still need to put another washer in here, but it's kind of tight. So I just left it out for now. But it'll go in there. It's just a bit of a pain to get it in there. So let's have a look here. You can see clearance for the torque converter there. It's hard to tell, but it actually is touching right here, so I want to do a little bit of a relief grinding on that right there. But other than that, This thing is ready to go. So I'm actually going to stop working on the frame because I really don't have everything quite yet for it. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this back out and build the swing arm, which is going to take a little bit of planning. I got a general idea what I'm doing, but some tubes have to be bent, so I'm going to go use my Bentech software to design this part that I'm about to make, and I need to make axle hangers. I need to do a lot of stuff, I guess, just to get ready to make this part. Okay, so in order to make this rear swing arm, I need to get the overall width of the wheel with the spacers and everything, and in order to do that I actually need to take this wheel and I'm gonna have to widen this hub right here. I'm gonna have to extend this because we're not gonna run this drum brake anymore, so I'll cut that off of there. And then the drum brake took up some of the space here, so to avoid having like a giant spacer in here or something, well, we have to have a flange to mount the disc brake to as well. So anyways, so I'll cut this drum off. We're gonna cut this end off here. We're gonna extend it and try to get it as straight as possible, hopefully perfectly straight. But gotta start by getting the sprocket off. Probably gonna have to take the tire off, so it's gonna be a whole ordeal just to get to the point where I can actually start building a swing. This is the 60-tooth sprocket. I'm a big fan of this because you got all the torque that you need. You know, you got good gearing for trail riding. So I think I'm gonna stick with this 60-tooth. All right, so you see how that has a flange for the sprocket. Ooh, let's go get the brake rotor since we're on this part, because we're gonna have to make a flange for it. This is our rear rotor. Yeah, that bolt pattern is way different. So we have to make a flange to bolt this on, but on the other side, obviously. So then we'll make the flange that will bolt the rotor to the wheel so we can have a rear disc brake. But first, gotta get the tire off. Okay, I am having a hell of a time trying to break the bead off of this tire. I already got the other side. It's all the way off there, but this side, the deep side, it just doesn't want to work. So I'm gonna try driving up on this 4x4 to see if this will break the bead. Here we go. Dummy. So I can't see very well from inside the car, so I didn't know where it was. I thought it was all the way up to the top of it, but I just gotten onto it. So I'll run it up there, see if it pops. It's turning into a big old thing. I've been trying to get this tire off for about at least a half an hour now. It's just a freaking waste of time. weight to it. Man. I really don't want to take this to a tire shop. Let's get the pry bars back out. Here's the big one. Oh, there it goes. Holy moly. Woo. Victory. Alright, here's where we're at. Basically have this thing in a fixture. Here's the axle nut or axle bolt holding it all together. And we're going to make sure that this thing is as straight as possible. And then, yeah, and then the wheel will pretty much be done, except for we got to make the brake rotor flange. So kind of started that here. We're going to make a couple out of here because I have one for the front as well. But for now, we're going to get this sucker welded in, and I'm going to weld up this edge here that I machined away. I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, this piece looks like it's almost pressed in there into this. So I'm just going to weld it up and then also weld this up. And this wheel will be pretty much done. Okay, so after putting those in the lathe, I threw them in the bead blasting cabinet to clean them up because I got to be welded on and they were super rusty. So this will fit on here just like so. And then we just have to, once we get the swing arm built, we mount the brake and see where this needs to ride. And then we true it up and weld it in place. Same with the front. You know, once we get the front end together, we know where the brake's gonna be mounted. We bolt this to there. And we true it up and we weld it. But what I'm working on right now is the last touch on these brackets, finishing touch on these brackets, which is gonna be welding. I'm gonna get the TIG welder. I'm actually gonna weld these nuts to the back of the plate because they're gonna be really hard to get to once that's on. So that's gonna make my life a lot easier. I was going to show you guys this wheels here because this is for a Megamoto 212 Pro or whatever it's called. It's the big Megamoto. And it has a disc brake and a sprocket flange. So it's got both flanges. You can buy it like this where you buy the whole thing with the tire. I think it's close to $100, but it's a pretty good deal considering you get the wheel bearings, all this stuff. So I already had all the parts from my other bike and I'm cheap, so here I am making my own stuff. Okay, we're making progress here. So there's our two brake rotor flanges with the nuts welded on the back. These are ready to go. Now I am working on the axle hangers. So I have to, first I'm going to shape these a little bit, then I got to get in here and I got to mark this out perfectly, and I got to drill and slot this right here so the axle has a place to slide. So yeah, more bracket making. And here they are.
Not a shifter, yeah, different.
She's here.
He's here.
No big deal about it?
No, go ahead on it.
This is my neighbor Bill's 1947 Plymouth, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I ended up rebuilding the carburetor on it. And it's starting better, but we want to make sure that the timing is good and probably adjust the screws on the carburetor. Yeah. And then we're going to do some exhaust work today. I thought you guys might just want to check out the car. It's got a beautiful paint job on it. 2010 RAV4. Yeah. What's it called again? Sedona red? Moroccan red. Beautiful car. Absolutely beautiful car.
Looks like maybe even wiped it down a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get to work on this thing. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today's episode. Next episode, here's a little sneak peek. We're going to be working on making triple trees and building the front fork setup. We'll also work some more on that rear swing arm, probably finish that up. Remember, I am giving away a couple t-shirts at 200 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be entered for that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.